Yo, what is going on guys? Skyknight here, and we are back with another Dokkan Battle video, and today we are talking about the Golden Week celebration in Dokkan. Now for those who aren't familiar with what the Golden Week celebration is, you guys just haven't been able to experience it yet, Golden Week celebration, at least in my opinion, is one of the 5 or 6 major celebrations that take place within a year of Dokkan. So if we're breaking it down in terms of the JP side of things, because that's, I would say, a bit easier to kind of explain, obviously you have your anniversary. You have the worldwide celebration, with Global and JP both share right now currently at the same time. You have Saiyan Day, which we celebrated about a month ago now at this point, a bit less than a month actually, when the Saiyan Day Vegeta dropped. And then you have Tanabata on JP side of things, and Golden Week, I would say, is another one of these bigger celebrations where we see some really nice units, really hype units potentially coming into the celebration, and overall the celebration is kind of fun. With that being said, a lot of people are starting to kind of speculate on what we can see on Golden Week, you know, in terms of the theme around it and the units that may come out with it. I'm going to be offering my 2 cents on that conversation and just kind of sharing, at least in my opinion, what I would think we are going to see from Golden Week, along with what I would like to see from Golden Week, and just kind of offering some ideas there. With that being said, before I get too far into the vid itself, I do want to say, for those of you who are watching the video, please comment down below who you would like to see for Golden Week. I am genuinely curious to see what sort of ideas you guys may have. Maybe it's some ideas that I mentioned in this video, maybe it's just ideas that I didn't even consider. I would love to see what you guys have in mind for Golden Week, and hopefully, who knows, one of these ideas will come true. We just don't know what exactly Dokkan is going to put out for us. With that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Now before I go ahead and start explaining what I think we're going to get from Dokkan as far as this year's Golden Week celebration is concerned, I do want to kind of take you guys with me on a journey back in time through the time machine with Trunks here, just to see what they've done for previous Golden Week celebrations. That way we can get an idea of what they've done before and what they may do this time around, and maybe we can get some ideas of what they still have yet to do that can enable us to predict what they will do going forward. Alright, so here we are at the 4th year Golden Week celebration, and they actually dropped these units during the 26th of April for that year. But we do have the 2 Dokkan Fest units here, so we do have Zamasu and Tech Trunks. And aside from that, we also have their banner units. So for Trunks, that is It Mai, and for Zamasu, that was Physical Gowasu and Zamasu there. Now a couple things worth noting. First things first is we had 2 Dokkan Festival units, so we do have the Zamasu and the Trunks again. One is a super class unit with the Trunks, one is an extreme class unit with the Zamasu. And then aside from that, each of them, because they are Dokkan Fest banners, they had their own individual banner units. So again, Mai and Physical Gowasu and Zamasu there. These are things that Golden Week has been doing for several years going forward, as we will see, and I think they are going to stick with this format. I will say, personally, in my opinion, I don't believe Golden Week celebration is necessarily as hype as Worldwide Celebration or as Anniversary, and obviously if you look at those 2 celebrations in comparison, they have LRs as part of their celebrations. Anniversary, obviously, for the people who aren't yet familiar, the 9th anniversary dropped 4 new release LRs as part of its celebration, 2 Dokkan Festival and 2 Carnival LRs. And if we're talking about the 8th year Worldwide Celebration, that also had 2 Dokkan Festival LRs and 2 Carnival LRs as part of that. So those 2 celebrations are much more hype in comparison to Golden Week, and I think based off that logic, I believe it is safe to assume that this 9th year Golden Week celebration is going to still follow the format of having 2 Dokkan Festival URs, as opposed to trying to explore the realms of adding in an LR for Golden Week celebration. Okay, so I did skip ahead here into the 5th year Golden Week celebration, and obviously we just saw the 4th year one, and that was really focused around the Dragon Ball Super Future Saga theme. And now we went from that into the Dragon Ball Z Majin Buu Saga theme. So you do see here we did get Dokkan Fest Tech Transforming Buu and Int Transforming Gotenks, which, as a quick aside, Gotenks got his EZA recently, and I must say it's quite fun. But between these 2 units and the past 2 units, a couple things still remain the same. First thing is we got a Superclass unit and an Extreme unit, and then we got 2 Dokkan Festivals alongside those main Dokkan Festival units. We got those 2 banner units, of course, with the Thin Buu and with the Tech Trunks. And then, in general, this celebration had a couple more units into it because several of them were more free-to-play, but that doesn't detract from the fact that really it was just the 2 big-ticket items along with their 2 banner festival units. Alright, so now skipping ahead to the 6th year Golden Week celebration, we do have the Super Saiyan Vegeta and the Super Saiyan Goku here, both from GT, along with the whole theme of the celebration, which was going to GT. And I will say, the one major thing that has to be noted here, and this is very important here, is that they went and did a super class unit for one of the Dokkan Festival units, and the other Dokkan Festival was also a super class unit. This is not something that we saw them do for the years prior. Obviously, between year 4 and year 5, we had at least one super class unit and one extreme unit. And I will say, even though people already probably know this, but going forward, they actually return to the original format of extreme and super class Dokkan Festival units instead of having 2 super class units. But I do kind of want to just bring this up because this was an interesting kind of difference from this format in particular compared to the other ones, so it is just something worth noting. Alright, so looking now at the 7th year Golden Week celebration, you do see that they return to that older format. So we do have one Extreme Dokkan Fest, which is the AGL Transforming Cell, and one Super Dokkan Fest, which is the Super Saiyan Goku who switches into Gohan. And then both of them have their banner units, so Cell has his androids with 18 and 16, and Goku has Vegeta there. I am going to say I do believe that they will follow this format. I think this is just one of the easier ways for them to kind of build a hype theme by having one villain and one hero from a hype period in the story of Dragon Ball as a whole, and using that as a way to kind of build the whole celebration around. And I think overall, that's what they're going to do. But that being said, obviously they could return to like the 6th year format where they do 2 superclass units, or they could actually go for something which they haven't done, I think, in previous Golden Week celebrations, which is to do 2 extreme Dokkan Festival units. I don't think this is what they're going to do. In general, Dokkan has a history of not really treating its villains well, which is why villains are considered a joke, and which is why the community is begging for a lot more villain representation and overall power. But again, Dokkan doesn't have that history of supporting villains, so I don't expect them to start to push in that direction. Instead, I expect them to just kind of follow this format of one good guy and one bad guy. Alright, so the last Golden Week celebration that we have to talk about before we get into my predictions here is the 8th year Golden Week celebration. So the 8th year Golden Week celebration was actually, in my opinion, one of the best Golden Week celebrations as a whole, because just the overall theme of it and the units they put out. So obviously, as you see here, we got the 23rd World Tournament as the overall theme, and that meant we got the Demon King Piccolo Jr., or Piccolo Jr. is rather, I guess, the more accurate name for him specifically, and then we got 23rd World Tournament Goku, along with their banner units, so the 23rd World Tournament as a whole with Krillin there and Tien there. This, I think, is a great example of how Golden Week should be done. Obviously, if we look at the 8th year as a whole, by this point in time, which is pretty much a year ago, LRs are running rampant throughout the game. They're not really an uncommon thing any longer, but you see, during Golden Week celebration, we didn't get any LRs, we got URs. And I think this is going to be, again, something they're going to do for the 9th year Golden Week celebration. I don't think it's a format or a formula that they should start to steer away from, because in reality, it is a great way for them to still have a fairly hype moment, and yet at the same time not go crazy with designing an LR with several extra animations on top of that. This is just more so a subtle celebration that still, I would say, is one of the very hype ones in the year of Dokkan, but it's just not as hype as Worldwide or the Anniversary, so it doesn't require as big of a budget as those other more impactful celebrations. Okay, so we just had a chance to look at the Golden Week celebration and its history and its formatting, and I do want to real quick just look back now at what they've done for the current 9th year of Dokkan, at least on the JP side of things, just to kind of give an idea of what they've kind of attributed their focus towards and what I think they are still not giving a lot of love to that they need to start doing now. So obviously, if we look at the first part of the anniversary for the 9th year, we did get super bosses and superheroes here / movie boss, movie heroes there with the part 1 of the anniversary. And then February, which was part 2, we did get some Tournament Power EZAs, of course, and we got Beast Gohan there and Gamma 1 and 2, some more Tournament Power EZAs, along with the 6th year anniversary EZAs technically. And then March, we do see for part 3, they did give us a bit of Majin Buu Saga love with the Super Vegito and the Bootanks, and then Space Traveling Warriors and Terrifying Conquerors with Frieza. And unfortunately, the timeline doesn't go any further than this, but obviously we do have the Saiyan Day Vegeta, which was from the Android Saga, and then we have Dokkan Fest Toppa, who's part of Tournament of Power. So obviously, if you look at the representation of what we've gotten recently, Special Pose has been eating a bit better with the EZAs and whatnot. Superheroes has obviously been enjoying really well. Android Saga got a bit of a love there with the Saiyan Day Vegeta, and then Majin Buu Saga with those EZAs and with the Special Pose EZAs now that kind of all fit together. What I will say is one or two categories I would say that are not really touched on when it comes to sagas that need to be touched are Planet Namek Saga and Dragon Ball Saga. Now, I will say, between the two, if I have to pick personally right now which I would want to have as for the Golden Week celebration, it is going to be Planet Namek Saga. Now keep in mind, I'm actually a bigger fan of Dragon Ball Z than Dragon Ball, and for me, Planet Namek Saga is probably one of the best sagas for me as a whole. But I do think when it comes down to it, this is a saga, this is a category that we've seen touched on before. A lot of the hype units or a lot of the hype moments have already been hit in terms of new units. So obviously looking back at the most recent unit, I'm pretty sure that came out at the time, that would be the HL Ginyu. So that came out at the end of the 7th year anniversary. So that was 3rd of March back in 2022. And obviously at the time that he came out with two really good banner units with the Berter and Jace here and the Rikuman Goldo. And also the full power Frieza and the Namek Goku from the 6th year worldwide were also really good. So this category at that time was doing really well. But it's been quite a while since they have been fed, and this category is now starving really, really badly. And so I think now is a good time to bring them back into the light and bring them back into relevancy. And a lot of people are already kind of going into this direction. They're already speculating what we can see. But I do believe personally what they should do if they go into this direction, which a lot of people will say the same thing, is they need to do base Goku into Kaioken specifically, don't even go into Super Saiyan, and Final Form Frieza. You can make it into some sort of animation intro where it's third form entering into Final Form Frieza and something along those lines. But I think it's time that we get a Dokkan Fest Final Form Frieza from Planet Namek Saga specifically, and having a base Goku that goes into Kaioken that's actually a Dokkan Festival unit, not something like this Kaioken Goku here who's more of a side banner unit if memory serves. I think that would be a better choice overall. So that is what I will say on the Planet Namek Saga. Now Dragon Ball Saga is another category that I mentioned hasn't been getting a lot of good representation, and some of you might be saying, well Sky, didn't they just get some 23rd World Tournament units from last year's Golden Week celebration? Technically we did get those units, but they don't fall into Dragon Ball Saga, and actually this is something that doesn't make sense to me personally, but that's just how the game is designed. And so if we're looking at the units that they have gotten recently, one major release has been this STR Bulma, and then to be fair, I guess we could say also the World Tournament Pilaf Trio there, but they also came out at the near end of last year in 2023, obviously on the JP side of things, and for Global, you guys actually got them quite recently with World Tournament. So the thing I will say about that is we did get some representation, but if we're looking at it, Bulma and Pilaf Trio together even weren't necessarily that great of a combination to bring this category back into relevancy and back into life. And so even if we're going back a few years, yeah, we did get, for example, the physical Kid Goku from Path to Power along with his banner unit with the Aider there. But Dragon Ball Saga is still missing, I would say, one major item, and a lot of people are saying this as well, and it is a Dokkan Fest Demon King Piccolo and a Dokkan Fest Kid Goku. And to be fair, we did have this Dokkan Fest Kid Goku from that same period and that same exact moment, but I think now it is a good time to bring those two back, especially a Demon King Piccolo. And obviously seeing what we have seen from Dokkan as far as animation quality, the fact that they can do Dokkan original super attacks now, and over the fact that their ability to do different camera angles and animations specifically and all this sort of stuff and lighting and everything, the fact that they can make animations look so fire now just, I think, is adding more and more hype and more fuel to the fire within everyone as far as saying, Dokkan, please give us Dragon Ball content, give us more Dragon Ball specific units, give us something that fits Dragon Ball Saga. So I do think they can go in this direction, but I do want to say really, really clearly here that I don't think now is a good time to bring these units. I think realistically, it is better to save Demon King Piccolo and Kid Goku for Worldwide Celebration. And to be fair, maybe that is a wrong opinion because there are several other moments in Dragon Ball that they can obviously do for Worldwide Celebration that could also be used probably even more so than Kid Goku and Demon King Piccolo. But for me personally, the way I look at it is there is a great amount of the Dokkan community that wants Dragon Ball Saga representation, and they want Dragon Ball Saga to be treated with the highest level of respect and appreciation that it rightfully deserves. And so in my opinion, the way I look at it is why not do that by putting them on the Worldwide Celebration, where I think, we may get the Global and JP sync up, and where obviously we will get LR versions of them as opposed to Golden Week Celebration where we will likely just get two Dokkan Festival URs. and just 2 units that can last for a good part of the year and maybe start to fall off if there is another meta shift. That's my concern and my kind of whole idea around not wanting Dragon Ball Saga be the Golden Week celebration this time around. Alright, so we just talked about Dragon Ball Saga and Planet Namek Saga, and truth be told, I will say I could probably talk about several other categories and several other themes for quite some time, but I don't want to take too long with the vid and just start harping on and on and on. So I will say the third kind of theme, really, or the third focus I have here is going to be a mixture, really, between the Otherworld Warrior category and the Corroded Body and Mind category that you see here on the top left. And you could probably see where I'm going with these two kind of categories in mind, but really this is not just a category specific thing, more so a thematic thing. And it really focuses on what you see here, as I'm just kind of looking at right on here, Fusion Reborn. I think it's time for Fusion Reborn to literally get a rebirth and a revitalization, and a big piece that I think can go into that is a tech Super Saiyan 3 Goku kind of revamp here, another version of this Goku. Obviously this is the Super Saiyan 3 Goku from prior to when Janemba became Super Janemba and he was fighting Fat Janemba instead, and then obviously later in the movie we saw items like Tech LR Gogeta, which represents Goku and Vegeta fusing finally into Super Gogeta. We do have, for example, AGL Pikkon there and other units like that. And the thing about Fusion Reborn is, we see here actually, if I go back to Otherworld Warrior real quick, we have touched on a lot of moments from the movie itself, and even if we go to Corroded Body and Mind, we do have that Fat Janemba there, we do have LR Physical Janemba there, we do have those units, we even have an STR and an INT version of Janemba right there. And so the game has really touched on this movie heavily, but I think realistically now is a good period to go back to this movie in particular and really kind of bring it back from the depths because of 2 particular reasons. One is this Goku, I think, is a really dope concept as a unit, and obviously having him pair with an Extreme Janemba would not be a bad idea. Obviously Janemba could lead movie bosses or do something along that line, and that would really kind of tie some of the movie villains or some of the villains in general we've gotten lately, perhaps, but we'll have to see. But also, aside from that, it is the idea of the easiest that they can be doing. And actually, I should have brought this up when I talked about the Planet Namek Saga in particular, but both of the kind of focuses here with Fusion Reborn and Planet Namek Saga is that apart from the themes themselves of the new units that we could get, is the fact that we could be getting some really good Easy A's as part of that. So obviously, if we're going back to Planet Namek Saga, that meant Namek Goku and AGL Full Power Frieza. Here, we are going to be talking about LR Tech Gogeta. First and foremost, LR Tech Gogeta through and through. If they want to kind of go a bit more into the outlandish direction, we could go ahead and say Super Saiyan 2 into Goku there. That could be an option, of course. And they could actually do, for example, AGL Pikkon, who could be another Easy A. There are some options that they could do with this kind of focus if they decide to make the theme all about Fusion Reborn and literally doing a rebirth of that. And so I will say, if I'm being brutally honest and very critical of my own opinion here, this is more so of a wishful thinking kind of opinion here. As far as this specific idea is concerned, I do think it'd be very cool, and I actually would like to see it happen. But I think realistically, if we're comparing it to even the Dragon Ball Saga idea, or especially the Planet Namek Saga idea, I think this one falls short in terms of the likelihood that it will happen in comparison to those other ones. And again, if you have to put me against the corner here and really have me say like my one choice of what I think they're going to do and what I would like to see them do, I think right now for Golden Week it would have to be Planet Namek Saga. It's just been a long time coming that this category gets some love, and I think now is a perfect time to do so. Make villains really good, potentially with a Frieza here that works with that AGL first form Frieza that we got a couple months ago on JP, and obviously give us another base Goku who goes into Kaioken. It'll be a dope moment. I think it can really work well if they focus on this theme for Golden Week Celebration for the 9th year. Okay guys, that's going to do it for this vid. If you liked it, be sure to hit the like button down below, subscribe for more content like this in the future, and comment again down below what you guys are hoping to see from Golden Week Celebration coming in just a few short weeks. Thank you guys again so much, and I'll see you all in the next one.